Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Deck Talk Podcast. And I am Colin Burnett.
And I am Norman Lee.
Tonight we are going to just do the chat with Norman Lee and Colin Burnett tonight. It's going to be a great episode. All the people that we contacted, especially that was through the Bassmasters, the classic that we met there, they're actually at Lake Murray getting ready for the tournament. So we have about 2 weeks that we're not going to try to bother them while they're at Lake Murray and Santee Cooper, right?
Yeah. I think Lake Murray's first, and then they got actually 2 weeks back to back. 1 week is Lake Murray, and then the very next week they go to Santee Cooper.
Exactly. So, man, we've had a pretty exciting week here this week, haven't we?
Tell you what, man, as fun as we're having, we got a chance to hit the lake a little bit yesterday, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But man, I'm glad for this weekend to get here so I can actually try to relax a little bit and take the weekend off and do some heavy duty resting and relaxation.
Heck yeah. We're going to talk about Chickamauga and Nickajack mainly today, and then we've got some exciting news that we're going to announce here in a little bit. Let's wait a little bit on that, Norman, and let's talk about Chickamauga first, and then we will go to before we talk about Nickajack, let's make the announcements.
Yep.
And so we have we've been on both Chickamauga and Nickajack quite a bit here recently. Here in the past week and a half, I've spent more time on Chickamauga, primarily for the fact, Norman, that it's that we are it's spawning time. Everybody wants to catch that big bass, and if you don't believe that Chickamauga still has them big bass, you need to go check out Bass Quest Charters, our buddy Caleb, and check out Wishing I Was Fishing. They are proving that Chickamauga still has some monster fish in there.
Yeah, I tell you what, Caleb Bell and Wishing I Was Fishing, their guide service, man, they are putting it on them monster bass out there in Chickamauga. They are doing it to it, and that, to Caleb and Wishing I Was Fishing, their guide service. I tell you what, they are known for putting those big giants in the boat, and their post shows it almost on a daily basis.
On a daily, that's it. But let's main thing, like with on Chickamauga here, we have seen the past 2 years, 2.5 years, I've really seen that a lot of people that are fishing Chickamauga now are they're they're from out of town.
Yep.
If you go to any boat ramp, I guarantee you, let's say that there's 50 trucks and trailers at the boat ramp, I guarantee you 30 of them's going to be from out of town.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is true, and a lot of that has to do with the bucket list deal that Chickamauga has became. Um, within the last 5 years, about 5 years ago, Chickamauga was rated number 2 bass fishing lake or bass fishery in the country.
Yeah.
And
so, which is good.
Well, yeah, it's good and it's not.
Yeah.
It has its upside and its downside. But the downside of it is that now it gets is as pressured as it was before, because Chickamauga has always been a great lake and all the locals know it as one of the best fish lakes in the country. But if you're not from the area, you really didn't know about that. And then when it gets nationally recognized as one of the best fishing lakes in the country, now, just like Okeechobee has been for years a bucket list lake on a lot of people that don't live in the area that can't fish it all the time, now Chickamauga become a bucket list lake.
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of out of towners come just to spend a week to fish Chickamauga.
Yeah.
And you also see that. I've been guiding on Chickamauga now for about 2.5 years since I've been full time here in Cleveland. But I've heard from other guides and guides that I've got known over the past couple of years that at one time most of probably 90% of the guide business was local clients from the area that was booking trips. But now you could see more of a change in that, where a lot of your trips now is actually people booking from out of town because of the national ranking that it got.
Yep, exactly. Now, before we really kind of get started, to all the people that are watching us through Facebook, please hit that like and just keep on smashing that like button and share this. We're trying to grow Deck Talk Podcast to be one of the premier fishing podcasts that is out there, and we can't do that unless we have y'all's help. So Facebook likes it with the more interaction that we can get. So we need y'all to smash that like button. Another thing is this is a interactive podcast. It's one of there's not many, if there is another one that is an interactive. So if you have any questions for us, even when we have a special guest, feel free to ask questions. We will. We're probably some of the most open fishermen that talking about stuff of what we're doing, how we're doing things, what we're throwing. That I've known. We kind of get down into the juice and stuff like that of what's going on with the lakes that we are fishing, and you can put that into perspective of where you may be, also so we can kind of help you out with that also. And again, Norman, he's been guiding up here for about 2.5, 3 years. He's been getting on some pretty good fish here late also. So we don't want to forget Norman also on that. So make sure you go and check him out. Even if you're just wanting to go out and be able to catch some good quality fish, that's what I would do. And that's what I done. That's when we first time that we ever went out. I actually went out with you. Yeah. I went out as I took you out, or you took me out on a charter and stuff. So
quick story about that. Colin's dad. I actually met Colin's dad before I met Colin. And of course, we just got to the area. My wife wanted to have a yard sale. We brought everything with us that we own basically from Florida. So we wanted to kind of get rid of some stuff that we really didn't need. That was actually in the garage where my boat's supposed to be honest with you. So kind of had the garage. But anyway, met Colin's dad, and Colin's dad actually hooked me up with him. So yeah, that's kind of how me and Colin first met. And he actually booked me to go out and do some deep water
Yeah,
fishing
I
to
was
kind of hone his skills in on a little bit of Carolina rigging, those ledge
yeah
type of deals.
because I mean the thing about fishing is you're always trying. I mean, how I look at it is if you're not trying to learn something each time that you
Another thing too is I don't care who you are, what your skill level is, how good you are. And me and Colin, we have friendships, and we know a lot of the guys at the top level of the sport. Over the past years, we've got to know a lot of these guys really, really good.
yeah
And even those guys, when they pull up to a boat ramp, Colin, they immediately, as soon as they get out of their trucks, their ears go open, and
yeah
even them guys are trying to pick up little things from other people just by listening what's going on around them that might help them on the water as well. So, and even for them guys to do that, it doesn't matter how good you are or who you are or what your skill level is, you never are going to stop learning.
no.
And that doesn't only apply to fishing, that applies to anything in
That's
life as
life,
well.
period.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I mean, and that's how I look at it. I mean, here, I mean, I have really, I guess you say, the past 8 years, I've really kind of hit fishing a little harder. Started doing a little bit more tournament fishing, and was doing quite a bit of tournament fishing. But then, not to the extent that like you had done it, Norman, but fishing dog fights and stuff like that around here. Or just little tournaments that's around here, and that's a good time to learn. I mean, because it's forcing you into learning. You got a time period, and so you're having to learn quickly on that, or you're just gonna get spanked for one. I mean, but here the past year and a half or so, uh, I'd say year and a half, I have kind of slacked off. Norman and I've actually fished a couple tournaments together, and we might be trying. I might try to talk him into fishing the River Park tournament here pretty soon, especially after what we done here here yesterday.
Let's go. I'm ready. I'm any time it involves hitting the lake and dropping the boat overboard in the water, man. I'm ready to
No,
rock
don't
and roll.
nothing overboard.
Well, yeah.
That last tournament. I'll tell you this: the
Yeah.
last tournament that Norman and I done, we
It's actually the only tournament me and you fished together. I think we fished, or did we?
I think we've done two.
Two of them. Okay.
Yeah. The last tournament that Norman and I have done, we we had a heck of a day. Yeah, my dad said even an old man is learning new things, and that's what it's about. That's what we want. We want to be able to. Uh, well, my dad goes out with us quite often. I mean, there's more times that he goes out with us than he doesn't. But he's done better. I mean, even this past winter, he was catching some pretty big fish here this winter.
Yeah, he was.
And so
mean, for a while there, I think
he had a good lead on us.
we had your dad out on the boat twice. I think at the beginning of the year, and your dad in two trips out with us fishing off the back of the boat, running me and Colin standing on the front of the boat, and your dad had more fish in the boat in two trips than both of us put together. I think.
Yeah, I think we kind of. We've caught up to him.
Yeah,
though.
we used to have a nickname for your dad. Used to be Net Man, and we actually started calling him Fish Catch Man. Had to throw the Net Man away.
Yeah,
he's been catching them here lately.
So, but let's talk real quick about Chickamauga. I mean, because Chickamauga and Nickajack, the largemouth, are, I mean, they're right in the midst of the spawn, and so now is the time to get on Chickamauga, and you're going to I can't say you're going to, because the likelihood of you catching a bigger fish, the odds are better in your favor right now. So right now you want to, if you're going to book a trip with somebody, right now I would be booking a trip. What's up, Zach? Um, right now you're going to the likelihood of you catching a big fish is pretty good right now. And what we've been doing on Chickamauga, we are literally within, like, I'd say a foot to 2 feet is what we're fishing in right now. And if we're in my boat, we can get shallow, even shallower than a foot. In Norman's boat with that 21-foot Triton you got, that's kind of tough to get into that kind of skinny water.
No,
But
we get in there.
Yeah, especially when we see them, we're getting in them, we're yanking on them. But that's what we're doing right now. Here, probably within another 2 to maybe 3 weeks, we're going to start seeing them fish pull back out to them. To the offshore points and stuff like that.
And the thing about this time of the year, when the majority of the majority of the fish pull up tight, they move in. They move into the shallows.
Yeah.
The pre-spawn, they go into spawn, do their heeing and sheeing. But the thing about this time of the year when they're moving in, and the reason it's easy to target them, it's easier to pattern the fish this time of the year because there's not as many areas as they could be.
No.
Even the heart of the summertime when it's hot out, you can still catch the bigger fish shallow on Chickamauga. You're still going to find them in shallow. Maybe not as shallow as you normally would in the foot to 2 foot range, but you're still going to find them around the boat docks. You're still going to find them in towards the edges. But you could also catch them big time out offshore on the shell bars, on the ledges. But this time of the year, it kind of eliminates that offshore when they're all moving in. They're moving in shallower water, so there's not as many areas as they're going to be as during the summertime. So it kind of makes it easier to pinpoint them.
Yeah, and because like what we're doing right now, I tell you the best way. Let's talk like this. Let's do this, Norman. When you're bed fishing, how do you go about going after a fish that is on bed or protecting a bed?
Right. Well, first thing is, and I'll say this first of all, is I don't like bed fishing. I've never considered myself a great sight fisherman. I can bed fish and I can sight fish, but I've never considered myself a great one, and mainly because I have a hard time, even with my Polaroid glasses, I have a hard time. Now I can see, but I have a hard time really being able to pinpoint and pick out stuff, just because of my eyes. I just can't see that good. But with that being said, um, first of all, power poles. Yeah. Now we got power poles. Remember back in the day, 25 years ago, I'm going back 25 years now, when you used to try to sight fish, how difficult it was to try to keep from, you had to use the trolling more, especially when there's a breeze blowing, to stay where you wanted to stay to target this whatever you're sight fishing. But then you had to keep in the back of your mind, you don't want to use the trolling motor too much. You don't want to start blowing mud towards the direction of what you're trying to fish. But now with power poles, man, it makes it so easy. You can pull up, you can see a fish on a bed, lock yourself down, and you can spend as much time as it needs to work on that fish. But I mean, basically, I don't do it a lot. And the main reason is I can't see good enough to do it. So I'd rather just myself. Now, if I had to, I would. But sight fishing or bed fishing is kind of an art, because you just can't show up locked down on a bed with your power poles and start pitching into the bed and think you're going to be able to catch the fish.
Exactly.
There's a lot more to it than that. sometimes you got to work on the fish. But I've never been one, man. If that fish is not locked onto the bed where she's ready to protect right then, I've seen anglers work on a fish on a bed for 3-4 hours,
Yeah.
and finally they'll get her to hit. But I've never been one that wants to waste that much time just working on
Yeah.
one fish, even if she is 5, 6, 7, 8
Yeah,
pounds.
and we've seen a lot of tournaments being that has been lost because somebody spent so much time on it.
Yeah,
But with me, I won't say I enjoy being able to do some sight fishing on bed fish. Uh, I typically, when they are bedding, I'm not hitting every bed because I don't want to. If they're, I don't believe that it messes them up that much, but we're not scientists. We don't know much about like what the fish. I mean, besides what we're doing as a fisherman, knowing their pattern of what they're doing, we really don't know what they're if it messes up what they're doing while they're bedding. So I typically I do not hit every bed. If I see a bed, I might throw. Jamie Jones says he's got a tournament out or tonight out of Harrison Bay.
good luck,
Man,
Jamie. Hope you smoke it to him, brother.
yeah, we man. I want to get out there so bad, Jamie. But I've been going since about 10 o'clock last night, and I called Norman. I called Norman and said, "Hey, I need to go home. I need to get some sleep for get ready for the podcast." And there's a pond right behind where I live, and so I went to that pond, and I seen this 7.5 pounder that I was like, "Oh man!" And I threw up on the bed. I threw a jig up on it, and nothing did not phase it or nothing, and could not get any kind of reactions out of it. I seen the male and threw up by the male. The male did not want nothing to do with it, so I said, Norman, I can figure this because this is my favorite way of doing bed fishing. Is I put on a 4/0 mustad hook and or EWG hook, and then I just put a straight worm on it, threw that sucker out there, or just pitched it out there to it, and just kind of, I mean, you could probably eat a sandwich or two before in between each. It is slow, and only people that do it, I say, are kind of crazy because it takes so long to when you're bed fishing. But we, so I threw up on the bed, and I was just kind of just slowly moving it back. Once I got it on the bed, I was letting it. I mean, I was just holding the rod still, just not even doing anything to it, and ever so often, just kind of just shaking. Or what I'm doing is I'm tapping the butt of the rod. So what it's doing is just shaking the line or the rod tip, and it's shaking that line, and so all that bait is just doing is just kind of just moving just a little bit, and then that they can just come up and you feel doom, doom.
And real quick, kind of a lesson that you could actually take out of what Colin just said is I've seen a lot of people trying to target a fish or looking at a fish and sight fishing, and they'll actually take and try to jiggle the bait with the rod. And just what Colin said, if you take and just have a dip in your line and just kind of tap the butt of your rod, it's going to just basically, especially if you have a nice sensitive tip on your rod, if you tap the butt instead of trying to use your rod itself to jiggle the bait, if you use a rod to jiggle the bait, every time you jiggle the bait is actually moving towards you. So it's moving out of the sweet spot of the bed as you try to jiggle the bait with your rod. Take and do the butt thing on the back of the bottom of your butt of your rod just by tapping it.
It just vibrates.
It just vibrates that bait. The fish could feel it, but it's not going to move that bait, and the bait's going to stay in the sweet spot of the bed. by doing that. So you're actually not moving the bait, but it is vibrating the bait, and that's all you need to do to kind of trigger that bite
Yeah.
on that bed. But I'm going to tell you one thing though. Colin calls me and he says, "Man," he says, "I just pulled up at this pond," and he goes, "I'm looking at a 7-pounder now. She wouldn't bite what I was throwing at her first. So I'm just going back to my truck and I'm going to tie on a 4-aught hook and put a worm on and see if I could catch her." I go, "You do realize you got to be here in an hour?" He says, "Yeah, but I got to see if I could catch this fish first." I'm like, "Man, you're more addicted to this game than I am." But yeah, that was funny. But yeah, he calls me up and he has to be here in an hour, and he's at a farm pond or a pond on the side of the road trying to catch a 7-pounder.
Yeah, it pretty much is a farm pond.
Yeah.
We got Jamie Jones asked the question, says, "How do you decide what colors you're going to throw from day to day, or do you just throw what you have the most confidence in?" I'll go first, Norman,
Yeah, go ahead.
and then you can go. I typically when I'll say this, my grandpa, my dad's dad, had he was a junior vice president of Genesco Shoe Company, which is a women's shoe company, and so he got to travel all over the world. But one of the places that he had to go was down into Texas. So back then, the Texas rig was just now getting going, and so he took a guide trip out, and this guy was like, he actually went. It was actually Fork Lake. No, I take that back. It was Rayburn. He went to Rayburn. The guy was throwing a Texas rig, and my grandpa was like, "What in the world is that?" And so because he's like, all I've ever used is just live bait or whatever, or like your crankbaits or and stuff like that. And so when this Texas rig came out, he caught so many fish off of a purple. So that's kind of been passed through the family and stuff of, hey, whatever you throw, it's got to have some kind of purple into it. And still, I mean, I catch a lot of fish on. I typically will start with something that does have purple, and then if I'm not getting any kind of hits on a purple, something with a purple, I typically will try to go with a green pumpkin, watermelon color. That is my first two to three kind of colors that I try to throw.
Choice.
Yeah. So
back in the day too, they didn't have a lot of the colors that you have. I mean, today you have a million different colors out there. Every company has 1,000 colors. Back in the day, there wasn't a lot of colors, and I remember growing up like and fishing in the early '80s as a kid, and a grape or purple jelly worm. Grape and purple was one of the only colors. I mean, they had like a red shad back then, but nothing fancy, no glitter, glimmer in them like you have today. But purple was
just solid.
Purple or grape back in the '80s and back in the day when I was growing up was the color and the worm to be throwing.
So, but especially during late spring, all through summer, early fall, I'm going to have tied on a smoke purple. And I guarantee you I will crush some fish with the smoke purple. We got Michael from Ben Olay Lures. Hey, Michael, I want to tell you, man, I took them the wiggle warts out. I need to send you the pictures that I have. I'll probably do that maybe here. I'll try to do it when I get off. But Ben Olay Lures, they hand paint their own lures. Everything is phenomenal. I mean, they do jerk baits. They do wiggle warps, crankbaits. They do my favorite thing that he does. He's got these rats, and it's time for me to start pulling them things out because I guarantee you I'm going to every year. I've thrown them for like the past 2.5 years, and every year I always get a monster fish on that rat. So go look at here after you get done with this. We'll get done with the podcast. Make sure you go to Ben Olay Lures. He's down in the comments, so you can kind of see how it's spelled or whatever. But Ben Olay Lures, and check out his baits. He does a phenomenal job. I really love throwing them. I've caught a bunch of fish, Norman, off of his baits. And so we want to, let's see, he says it's time for me to paint some rats. Yeah, it is time, brother. It is, I think if I would have had one on here earlier, I would have been able to catch a monster one here earlier that I just didn't have nothing because all I had was my book bag full of plastics, and so, but yeah, go check him out, and I guarantee you, you are going to be impressed with the paint job and how many fish you're going to catch. Caught fish on them. On Chickamauga, Nickajack, it does not matter where I've thrown these fish or thrown these baits. Even thrown the rat down at headwaters, caught fish in headwaters. I don't think I threw it on Escapoga. I think we mainly was punching on.
Yeah, that summertime of the year, I think we're doing more flipping down there at that time.
So go check him out. He is a great guy, and we love throwing his baits. Jonathan said, and I've lost a couple of his lures. Yeah, you have. yeah. And so, but and I'm surprised, Jonathan, that you're on here and you have not said nothing about food yet. But my buddy Rusty said, "What's for dinner?"
That reminds me, I'm hungry. I haven't ate lunch yet.
So, but that's what we're doing on Chickamauga is we're fishing shallow. And I was talking to Greg and Dylan at Talking Tackle, and they're part of the Wishing I Was Fishing, they are the Wishing I Was Fishing with Tanner, and they're throwing a big rat. They're throwing a glide bait right now, and so. But and they're catching giant fish. We got Norman out here. He went out on a guide trip here last week, wasn't it, on Chickamauga? That you got into some, didn't you?
Yeah. Had a guide trip last week on Chick, and took a father and son out from. They were from Alabama. Came down for the day. I guess the son had spring break, so they plan a fishing trip every year during spring break, and they gave me a call out, so we booked the trip, and we had a fun day, man. I think we ended up catching over 40 bass, uh, 10. I think 10 or 11 of them was over 3 pounds, between three and 3/4 pounds. Didn't catch any giants, but like I say, we had 10 or 11 that was in the 3+ range, which very, very good quality fish. We ended up catching them a few different ways, mainly on lipless crankbaits. We caught a lot, the majority of them actually on lipless crankbaits. We ended up catching a few, flipping some soft plastics, flipping the 6-inch big stick bruiser bait. We flipped that up under some boat docks and some marinas, and I think 2 of the 3+ pounders we caught doing that. So, yeah, we had a fun day, and it was a good trip, and like I say, caught a lot of fish and a couple more happy clients.
And what you'll see, like with how Norman just said that he caught some on a lipless crankbait or throwing crankbaits and stuff, that those are fish that are potentially moving up. They have not spawned yet. They're still pre-spawned. When you can still catch them, like on a swim bait. And what's the bruiser?
Super swimmer.
Super swimmer. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're still catching them on them swim baits, the super swimmer by Bruiser or whatever, or you're throwing the crankbaits, that's when they're still trying to move into. They're still in that pre-spawn. Right now, you want to be up on the as shallow as you can be, and just I would be dragging, like if I was Jamie right now going out, I would be dragging a lizard, probably like a green pumpkin or a watermelon. And so he, but I know he will be out there throwing a spinnerbait.
Yeah,
So,
and you know, spinnerbait's a great option right now too. Especially, like I say, Jamie has that tournament tonight. It's actually a night tournament.
Yeah.
I think they start at around 6, right, Colin? But they go till
9. I think. Yeah.
So yeah, they fish till after dark. But the thing about this time of the year when they're moving into the bed to spawn, pre-spawn, when they're sitting on beds, you don't necessarily have to sight fish to be bed fishing.
Yeah.
If you know you're in a bedding area,
Yeah.
as long as you just toss a worm around, like Colin said, one of my go-tos, and I know it's Colin's go-to for this time of the year when you're throwing a soft plastic, is the like an 8-inch lizard.
Yeah.
Very good, because a lizard is one of the predators that bass have to fend off in the shallows when they're trying to protect their bed. So that's always a good option. But you don't necessarily have to be sight fishing for bedding bass to be catching bedding bass.
No.
If you're in a bedding area, if you're chunking and winding a shoreline, you know it's a bedding area. Chunk and wind that lipless crankbait. If it runs over top of the sweet spot of that bed, and you got a bass that's locked down on it, she's not eating the bait to eat the bait. She's eating the bait to get it off the bed. But the thing with the lipless crankbait is usually when she grabs it to get it off the bed with the treble hooks, you're going to stick her regardless.
Yeah. But I mean, but when it comes to when they're on a bed, typically a moving bait like a lipless crankbait is coming past their bed so fast that they're not even going to pay it any attention. So when we are doing, and Norman and I, we done it here early this week on Chickamauga. When they're on bed and you slow down, just like what I was saying today, I ended up catching that 3.5 pounder, which was the male, but it was because I'm slow and I just, in which a lot of times, like Norman was saying, you don't know, sometimes you don't even know that you're on the bed, but you'll feel that thump, and then what they're doing, then they'll grab it. They might grab the tail, and they're just picking it up and getting it off the bed, or they're going to inhale it. But I mean, that's typically that's exactly what we're doing right now on Chickamauga. So I mean, do you have anything else, Norman, to put on to that?
One more thing, timing is everything. Timing is everything when you're fishing a bed. Especially if you're tournament fishing and you're sight fishing beds. Timing is 100% key when you're sight fishing. And if you swing and miss, and the bait's on the way out of the fish, the bait's on the way out of the fish's mouth when you swing on her, and you stick her but you miss her, you're pretty much that bed's gonna be done. Very seldom that fish is gonna come back. You're gonna spook her away for a while before she'll actually come back and lock herself back down on it. But what they're doing when they pick that bait up off the bed is all they're wanting to do is get it off the bed. So typically they'll get it in their mouth and move off to the side with it, but they're going to drop it. They're not eating it to eat the bait. They're eating it to move it off the bed.
Exactly.
So keep in mind too, I've been and again, I don't do it a lot, but I have been sight fishing before. And what I will do is when I'm fishing a bed that fish is locked down 100% on that bed, I will actually flip it to her several times, have that fish pick it up and move off with it without setting the hook. And I know if you're if you're tournament fishing, when you're sight fishing, that is the hardest thing psychologically to get yourself to do, is not jerk when that fish moves off with it. But what I'm doing is I'm timing that fish.
Yeah.
As she moves off, I see her pick it up. I feel her move off with it, and then I see when basically she drops the bait off the bed. Now what I'm doing, I'm timing that fish, so I'll do it about 2 or 3 times. Once I get that timing down, next when she picks it up and I'm ready to go on her, I kind of have an idea how long I have, and typically when you do that, you're going to swing. You got a better chance of not missing when you got a good timing on that fish. So that's something you might want to think about when you do it, is try to time that fish to see what your reaction time, see what your hook set time is on that fish. Because if you sight fish and then you swing and you miss on her and you stick her, chances are you're not going to be able to catch her before you have to get back to weigh in. So keep that in mind too.
So,
make sure your time is good.
Let's move on from Chickamauga, and because we went to Nickajack yesterday, and so we went yesterday. We videoed. We had the cameras going, and we had a blast out there, didn't we?
Oh man, yeah. We ended up catching. I think we caught over 40 fish, and of those 40 fish, I think what was it? We 1, 2, 3, 4. I think five. I don't want to say species because I'm not sure. I guess smallmouth, largemouth, and spots is the same species, but 5 different styles.
Yeah, and rock
fish.
Bass and stuff like that.
Rock bass, drum, small. I think we caught a larger too.
Yeah, I caught what we had. I think I caught 8 of them on the way back.
Yeah,
and stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah, Norman. Let's go on before we kind of talk about Nickajack. Let's talk about our special news, our exciting news that we got coming out right now.
Yeah, and this is something we've been working on probably for a better part of a year now.
Yeah.
And we've been kind of experimenting. We've been doing some product testing. We've been doing some research, some on-the-water research, some field testing on it. But we got a new lure company that we're kind of working on. It's called, I don't know if you see it in the camera, but Chattown Lures. There you go.
Chattown
Lures.
Heck yeah.
And we're out actually yesterday. What were we doing? We were filming for the micro jigs, right?
Yeah, we actually went out there purposely. We did not fish with anything else besides
that's all we had tied on.
Besides our micro jigs that we're doing. This here is called the River Magic, and it held to its name. We have caught there ain't no telling how many fish we've caught on that River Magic. Josh Antoine is using the River Magic and the PB&J, which Norman's got it right here in his hands.
Yeah, that is our PB&J right there.
And
you threw the PB&J a lot yesterday.
I threw it, yes.
You stroked him on it.
And so we also have this one that is called, it's called Majestic Purple.
Mm-hmm.
And we demolished them on this yesterday. We also, we have, we just I was just tying some jigs up. And so we got orange, white, and gray. Some people call this the Tennessee Vols jig. I did catch a couple fish, not yesterday, but the other day while I was
not to cut you off or anything, but if we take this jig right here, show it.
All right, here. Right here, we'll do like this. All right, it's on you.
All right, I was going to say, not to cut them off, but if we take that jig right there, we add some blue to it, to heck with the Tennessee Vols, it becomes a gator.
Oh, we don't want none of that crap.
Hey, man, you can take the boy out of Florida, but you can't take the Florida out of the boy.
But also, it's got a chartreuse blue and a smoke on there. And so, but we've made a bunch of jigs. We've got jigs that are coming out. Norman, where can they get these jigs? and where or how can they get a hold of these jigs right
All
now?
right. Well, anyway, I think I might have just pissed off a bunch of Tennessee Volunteer fans, so I apologize if I offended anybody, but I'm probably going to be getting hate mail now.
You probably are.
But
Norman
anyway,
Lee Fishing, remember.
yeah, right. I found out Tennessee Volunteer fans, they are diehard fans just like us Gator fans, so you don't really know it. Now that I'm up here in Tennessee permanently, I better watch my P's and Q's, right? But anyway, guys, these baits right now, we actually have them in, if you're locally right here in the Cleveland area, they are now in Fishtails Bait and Tackle in Cleveland. They're soon to come. They're going to be
next week.
Next week, they will be in Jack's Bait and Tackle in Chattanooga. Or you can message myself or Colin via Facebook, or call us. Our phone numbers are out there, so you can find our phone number, text us or call us.
Yeah.
And or message us on message us on Facebook as well.
Yeah. And again, it's Chat Town Lures, and we have been catching a bunch of fish on these lures or on these little micro jigs for the past year that we've been tying them, and we finally feel comfortable enough to where we can get them out. We've gotten the first set that we started tying did not have the hooks and the keeper that we really liked. So so we got everything changed. We started getting we got new jig heads, new hooks. It's got a those are 3/16, and it's got a Mustad #2 hook on it. So there's not. I mean, we crushed. And how many of them did you catch yesterday, Norman? That was on or how long did you fish with that one that had the? I mean, nothing. It looked like it was still brand new.
I'll tell you what. At the end of the day, I pointed it out to Colin that the last one I had tied on, I probably had it tied on for the last 2 hours of the day, and we looked at the head, and there was absolutely 100% no paint peeled or chipped off the head. And if you know anything or you ever fish these lakes up here, all you're fishing is rock.
Yeah.
I mean, you're fishing anywhere between, right now we're fishing anywhere between 7 and 20 foot, but we're fishing rocks, and some of the rocks that we're banging these jigs over is the size of a Volkswagen Bug on the bottom.
Exactly.
A bunch of chunk rock, and we left at the head of that jig at the end of the day. And I actually had a kind of bang that thing out of the rocks 5 or 6 times so we didn't lose it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was wedged, and we had to actually backtrack ourselves to get her out. And at the end of the day, man, no, there was no paint off that head of that jig.
And we have done our studies and trial and tribulations, I guess you say, on them hooks. But and it's come down to where we have pretty much got it down to a T. And but I do want to tell you that Nickajack right now is, from now till beginning of winter, we are not leaving the boat ramp without having one of these tied on and having them in the boat, because here in probably about a month or so, we're going to see where we caught 40 here yesterday. We're going to be catching upwards to 150 smallmouths on them jigs every day here in about a month and a half. But again, if you're going to go to Nickajack and you're wanting to pick up these jigs next week, we have them pretty much. We got almost all the orders done, but all the orders for Jacks is pretty much done. We'll finish it up here this weekend, and so probably we're going to try by Tuesday or Wednesday, latest.
Probably Wednesday.
Yeah, we're going to try to get them over at Jack's, and Kim is going to have them in stock, and And if you don't believe that they catch fish, go check out Chattahookum, Josh Antoine with Chattahookum, because he has been using these and has been doing phenomenal. I mean, the fish, you go check out the fish that he's catching on Nickajack, and he's using the Chat Town lures. Um, he's catching a bunch of fish, and he's people that's going out on his guide service are breaking PBs right now. So make sure you grab these at Jack's Bait and Tackle. I guarantee you that you will love these things, and they're going to do the jam of catching a bunch of smallmouths for you. Well, I mean, pretty much, it's not just smallmouths. We've caught largemouths, we've caught spotted bass. I mean, we've pretty much caught everything in there except for them sturgeons. But they are phenomenal baits. But again, Jack's Bait and Tackle is going to have them here. Look for them here by Wednesday is what we are shooting for. If I can, if Norm and I can get to there before then we're going to have them before. We'll do another live, not as a podcast, but just between Norman and myself and with Kim about saying that they are there. And I guarantee you that you're going to love them, and it's going to be something that is going to be put on the deck of your boat at all times, especially when you're on Nickajack. We do use them on Chickamauga. Mainly when I use them is going to be where I've got some current and I've got some bluffs, 20 to 40-foot bluffs. And and we also, these are silicone skirts. John Pate asked that. And this is that living rubber. We've been doing, my dad loves this jig. He's been fishing with this jig, I guess for about 4 or 5 months. His big fish that he's caught here this past winter has come off on this with the living rubber.
That was his personal best too.
Yeah, his personal best. We also got some football head jigs that we are tying also. But mainly right now, we're just focusing on getting those micro jigs into Jack's Bait and Tackle and fishtails. So that's what we're wanting to focus on right now. And we're going to venture out into, we've got the football head jigs we're tying. If you contact us and you're wanting some football head jigs, we have football head jigs. Norman, talk about what we've got on that also as lures that we're coming out with.
Okay. I was going to say too, if you're local in this area, we highly recommend you to, if you want to buy some, go to Jack's Bait and Tackle if you're in Chattanooga, or go to Fishtails if you're in Cleveland. And again, me and Colin, and we've talked about it before, we really truly want to support our local mom and pop smaller tackle shops. So if you're in the area, go to those 2 tackle shops to buy them.
Yep.
And again, you could always call us. We're always here to help you if you have any questions. Or if you're not in the area, definitely holler at us, and you can place an order over the phone as well. But we're not only sticking to just the micro jigs. We got a spot on. And you know what? I have one out there, but I didn't bring it to the table, or we could have shown it. We have a spot on spoon that we are doing also. And this, certain times of the year, them smallmouth, especially like on Lake Nickajack, I mean, you don't want to have anything else but one of them spoons on, especially in the morning time before that sun comes up. But yeah, we're doing a little bit more than just a micro jigs, which we're not announcing that quite yet. All of that is still in the prototype stages. We're still doing a lot of field tests on other type of lures, but all that's going to be announced here in the upcoming.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming up with the company.
Yeah, and so we do love Jack's Bait and Tackle because they do keep us in stock and keeping us on the water. Also with fishtails, those two bait shops, we figured that they were far enough apart from each other that any part of Chattanooga area that you're going to be able to hit either one of them and be able to pick up these jigs. And so, but we do want to tell Kim, thank you for keeping us on the water and keeping us in stock with everything that we are needing, not just with the jigs or anything like that, but with the jigs, you're also going to need trailers, though, Norman.
Yeah.
What kind of trailers are we using to catch on these?
Well, I tell you what, man, my go-to trailer, and I use this trailer on a lot of different things as well, spinner baits, bladed jigs, but 100% the micro jigs that we're doing. The Bruiser Bait McMinnow. And I tell you, the Bruiser Bait McMinnow was actually designed by Bruiser Bait at the time, FLW Pro Brandon McMillan. But he designed it, when he started fishing on the pro tour. He started coming up to all the. Of course, he's from my area in South Florida, the Okeechobee Clewiston area. But him starting coming up fishing all these smallmouth fisheries, when he was on tour, he went back and he designed for Bruiser Baiter. He was part of the design team along with Steve Dial and the Bruiser Bait team on this bait specifically for targeting smallmouth. And but that's my 100% spot on trailer for our micro jigs is that Bruiser McMinnow. And every one of the fish that I caught yesterday, uh, I had that McMinnow.
Yeah.
I was tipping the jigs with the McMinnow.
So, we got Kim said thanks for the shout out, and Jack's Bait and Tackle appreciates our support. Kim, we really appreciate everything that you've done.
Same here, Kim. And if you've never met Kim, Kim is the sweetest, nicest, very knowledgeable, but she's the owner, manager, operator of Jack's Bait and Tackle.
Yeah.
That has been in her family now for over 40 years.
No, 56 years.
Over 56 years to be exact.
So, but she also drags, I say drag, Patty's in there with a smile every time I come in there. And what's funny with Patty is every time Jax goes live, Patty and I have this deal seeing who can hit that like button more times than that live. And so we kind of made it into a game. But Kim also says you guys are doing awesome job. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, man.
That really means a lot. And so, well, we're right at an hour, Norman. Let's hit what we done on Nickajack, and then let's get out of here so you can get something to eat and I can go to sleep.
Yeah, right.
So,
but all right, man. Had a great day on Nickajack. I think we already talked a little bit about our day, but we caught over 40 fish of quite a few different species. And you know what? Drum. Let's talk about drum for a minute.
We caught 5 of them.
You can say what you want about drum. I have people tell me all the time, why you get so excited? It's just a trash fish. It's just a drum. I don't give a darn. it's a tug on the other end of your line, and most of the time when you catch a drum, it's at least going to be 6, 7 pounds or up to 30 pounds, and the fight is on, dude. You
Yeah.
know, I don't care if it's a drum or a smallmouth. Still having fun every time I have that tug on the other end of the line. You know, and so just because it's a drum doesn't mean we don't enjoy catching them.
Nah.
So,
Yeah.
but
We had we caught 5 of them. I think we had 2 of them that went around 8 pounds.
yeah, those
And
are the
then
small ones.
that was the small ones. You had one, I'd say that big one, the biggest one that we had, probably went upwards of 15, 16 pounds.
I was going to say 15 pounds.
Yeah. And so, we put a hurting on them, but the main thing we done,
weren't fishing a drum tournament. We would have.
Yeah, we would have smashed some people on a drum tournament, just the best 5. We only had 5. That's all we needed, but we did smash some spots and some smallmouth.
Smash some spots. I think our first 2 fish of the day was 2 really, really nice spots.
Yeah.
I mean, well in the keeper range.
I'll tell you this, we threw nothing but the Chattown lures, and with the micro jigs, and we had within the first hour, we had 3 spots that was over 9 pounds.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, you take that into any kind of tournaments, especially a 3 fish tournament, you're going to be putting in some money. And so, but we know that we're going to be able to catch bigger fish than that. On these things, but we had one issue, not with the lures, not with anything that we were doing, but right now on Nickajack,
we didn't have much current.
We did not have any current, and you really need to be throwing these with current. Isn't that right, Norma?
Yeah. I mean, you'll catch fish all day long with no current, but
the better quality.
Yeah, what happens is when you don't have that current, the big smallmouth bite's gonna go pretty much down to nothing. Now you'll still catch the 1.5 to 2 pound smallmouth with not that much current, but in order to really target them giant smallmouth, and when I say giant smallmouth, keeper small, a keeper smallmouth in Tennessee has to be 18 inches. And you catch an 18-inch smallmouth, that's 3.5 pounds.
It is at least 3 pounds.
So even just a keeper smallmouth, in a lot of cases, is considered a giant smallmouth.
Yeah, exactly. So, but when what we were doing is we're letting it. I mean, like what you do with the normal jig, we're letting it get out there. But the main thing that we cannot push the issue any more than what we do and what we have already when we're talking about fishing on a river system is when, like, especially like if you're taking drifts and stuff like that, you want that line to have a little bow in it, because what that's doing, it's allowing it to come down with the current, pushing it down, and it looks natural. And that's what you want to do. You want the bait to look natural. And so if you have a tight line, what it is, it's just doing like this. It's just turning it. And so eventually, if the current's pushing it, it's going to eventually turn it to where it looks like it's backwards and stuff. And you do not get the hits like you typically will do unless you would have a bow in. If you have the bow in that line, one, you're not getting hung up as much. And when you're fishing on a river channel and you're fishing around a bunch of rocks, you are going to get hung, especially the first couple times that you're out trying to. You're going to think you feel that little thump, and you're going to think that it's a fish.
Yeah.
When it's actually the rocks you're hitting the bottom. There is a big difference in between hitting the bottom and then having a fish hit it. Normally, when a bass or a smallmouth will hit it, or a fish hits it, it has more like a electric feel to it, and you feel it. I mean, it's just more of a shock feeling, and it's a little spongier,
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna have more of a spongy sensation in your rod tip in the hang up. If you get hung in a rock, it's gonna be a sharp, solid hang up. And again, like Colin said, there is a distinct difference in the way a fish feels and the way hang up is. A fish has it in its mouth is going to be more of a. I mean, you're going to feel that fish hitting it. And a rock, it's just going to be a solid hang up. You're not going to really feel nothing like nothing's hitting. It's just going to be solid hang up load up.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a fish that's on it, you're going to actually feel the fish. But with that dip in the line, uh, you watch your line. The line's going to tell you a lot about when that fish has it in its mouth. Whether you see the line jump, whether you see it start moving off to the side, it gives you more reaction time when it does load up. And when it does load up, like Colin said, it's going to be more of a spongy type of a load up. That's the difference you get between a hang up on a rock and a bigger fish having it in its mouth. Is it's going to be more of a spongy hang up with your rod tip. But when you see that line with that dip in it, it's going to give you more of a reaction time. You have that line tight, when that fish eats it, you're not going to have near as much reaction time. The thing
they're going
about
to feel you first.
yeah, the thing about it, you want to be able to set up on the fish before the fish feels you. If the fish feels you before you set up on that fish, it's too late. She's going to feel you. She's going to take off, and she's going to eat you up. And you're not going to have no reaction time to pull back on her. So that's one of the things with the dip. But the other thing is when you're drifting, hold your rod tip straight up in the air. And that's going to, if you hold
about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, about 1 o'clock. Yeah, not straight up above your head, about 1 o'clock. And what that's going to do, that's going to actually help create that dip in the line as it comes down to the water line. But it's also going to do another thing when you're drifting rock like we do. And some of those rocks is big chunk rock. Some of it's boulder sized rock is well below you. It's going to be able, you're going to actually be helping that jig pop over the top of what you're fishing, the rocks and stuff like that. Versus if you're holding your rod tip down, it's going to be wanting to dig the jig into the rocks and hang up a lot easier. But another thing too is when you're fishing any kind of a river system where you have moving water, fish are always going to set up in a current driven body of water facing the direction of the current flow. The reason they do that is, and again, the rocks and stuff we're fishing down there, that is basically the ambush point. If you use your electronics and you go out and you look at some areas that has rocks on a current driven body of water, and take a look at on the bottom where these rocks are and where these fish are behind all these rocks. Typically, the fish are always going to set up on the back side of the rocks from the direction the current's flowing. So when you're drifting, you're drifting your baits the direction of the flow because that's the direction the current's pushing your boat. Well, as your bait hits these rocks and you have your rod tip up at about 1 o'clock, you're banging it over top of the rock. When that bait hits the top of the rock and falls down the other side, that's that ambush point for that fish. Typically, the fish is going to ambush the bait at that point. And when they do that, the rule of thumb is the bait don't see what hit them. Mm-hmm. They hide from the bait, so the bait don't have any reaction time to get away from that fish. They ambush. It's called an ambush point. A lot of the bait flows downstream that can't handle being able to keep up with the current. So you're going to have the bait pushing itself down, so the fish will ambush that bait.
Yeah, and we caught a lot of our fish yesterday was off of doing that.
Yeah,
where it was, we would feel the rock and then pop up over the rock, and as soon as it's popping up, you feel that. Feel that whoop.
And when you hang up on the rock and you're able to get the bait to pop over it, that's when your bite's going to happen. As soon as you feel that load up of that rock and you're able to bang that bait over top of that rock, when that bait falls down to the other side, that's typically when that bite's going to happen every time. If there's a fish behind that rock, is they will ambush it at that time.
Yeah.
And another thing too, when you're fishing a current-driven body of water, if you're not drifting or doing drifts with the current, if you're fishing, say, an edge, the same rule of thumb, you always want to keep your boat positioned against the current. So you always want to fish upstream, because when you're casting, when you're chunking and winding an edge, you want to cast with against the current. So you're
Yeah.
always bringing your bait back. If you're using your trolling motor and bait cast in the shoreline that actually has current, you always want to be fishing. So you're fishing upstream because your bait's coming back with the current because it's going to be coming back the direction the fish is wanting to bait where they're facing that current.
Exactly. And which yesterday, we kind of had to cut our fishing time a little short, and which Norman didn't know that I was going to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up. But this is a great example of why you would want to have the power pole charge on your boat. We actually had a battery go dead. Just from usage and stuff. So like that,
cranking battery couldn't start the motor.
And so we had to troll probably I'd say about a mile and a half.
Yeah.
And but as we were trolling back upstream, of course it had to be to where we was having to go back upstream. But as we were going back upstream, we were chunking this stuff we got onto the least amount of current to where it was easier for us to go, and we was chunking the micro jigs up onto the bank and bringing them back to us, like what Norman was saying, was throwing it out in front. There was still current, it wasn't as much, but was bringing it was allowing it to drift down.
And again,
and we caught,
I was going to say there wasn't that much current yesterday, but we still had current. It was probably about 4 to 5. I would say 4 to 5. Wouldn't you on the current?
Yeah, it wasn't.
But that's very slow for what Nickajack normally.
They only had like 2 generators going and stuff. So
and that's slow. That's very slow, especially when you get away from the dam. As you get further down the river, it pretty slow current. But if you're having to troll against it, it still sucks.
But we made the best out of it. We caught over 10 fish coming back, just that we would have missed because we would not have really hit that area. But we did catch all the fish we caught. I mean, we did not throw anything else. Even we had Josh Antoine called us up and he said, "Man, throw a jerk bait right now. We are crushing them on a jerk bait." And they like, "We caught 12 in the past 45 minutes on a jerk bait. If you got a jerk bait, throw it." And we're like, "We appreciate it," but we're out here filming for the jigs. Yeah. But other than that, man, hey, real quick, Norman, let's talk, and let's make this quick because we're at an hour and 15 minutes. But tell them about the video that is coming out.
All right. Yeah, we actually, again, we were filming yesterday, so keep posted. We have a video coming out really soon from yesterday. So it's going to kind of, and again, I started editing it this morning.
Yeah.
So it's still
while I was working, you was doing work too.
So it's still an editing process. It probably won't be finalized and finished till sometime towards the end of next week. But keep posted for that too. That's coming out yesterday's day on the water with our micro jigs. So you'll get to see a lot of the footage that we had yesterday while we were out there fishing.
Yeah. And so, but thank goodness we didn't fish any of our good spots. So
thank goodness we didn't run. I was actually wanting to run about 15 miles down the river there towards the end. Thank goodness we didn't do that, or we would have had a hell of a long troll.
So
back.
Again, Norman, show that real quick, the package,
guys,
and again, Chat Town Lures. That's what it is.
Lures.
And we are going to here, Norman, show them the River Magic. We're going to be having the River Magic and the PB&J right now. That is going to be in Fishtails and in Jack's Bait and Tackle. Those two are the ones that we've been doing the most. We've caught the most on, and we got the Majestic Purple, which Norman's got right there, and we're going to have it coming out to them also as soon as possible. We're going.
And another thing too is we also caught some of the fish we caught yesterday was on a color that I actually
Yeah, and
put
that's what I was
together.
looking for to see what it was.
Yeah, I
if
don't
you
have
had
it.
it.
I don't have it on the table, but yeah, we a new color we actually haven't named yet.
Yeah.
So
If you want to help us out, leave in the comments of what, and it's more or less like a, a motor oil looking color.
I tell you what, why don't we do this? Because you kind of read my mind here, Colin. Why don't we do this? Leave in the comments. Shoot, I should go back and get it real quick. Sure.
Yeah. I kind of chit chat.
I was gonna say I'm gonna run back and get it real quick, but leave in the comments what you think we should name this bait.
Yeah.
And we'll try to. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pick out of all the comments that you guys leave us on the name of this bait. We'll pick whatever we think is the most appropriate name for this bait.
Yeah.
And what do you say? Whoever wins, what do you say? We give them 5.
We'll give you some of our jigs.
Yeah, we'll make sure we'll hook you up with some of the jigs. But anyway, hold that thought.
So while he's going to go get that, he's going to go get it real quick and then show y'all, and then y'all can just leave a comment about the name. We are thoroughly enjoying making and throwing these jigs. We have caught hundreds of pounds of fish easily on these jigs. Again, here in about a month and a half, we're going to be using these jigs and catching 150 smallmouth a trip. So it's going to be fun. And again, we've got the living rubber. This one is a black and blue. This one is like oh shoot. My dad said peepaw's a lot. This one is like an olive green pumpkin with black stripes. But yeah, you got one yet?
Yeah, I got one.
So he's actually going to put, and can you show them before you do that? Put that on there. Show them what that minnow looks like real quick.
All right, guys. Shout out to Bruiser Bait too. I just got a big order from Bruiser today. As you can see, everything McMinnow for these jigs. But this is the new color that we haven't named yet. We just came up with that. The day before yesterday, right when I was trying to get everything ready to hit the lake the next day. But anyway,
let me see that real quick. We're gonna put it on.
Okay, you want to put it on?
No, I ain't gonna put it on. I'm gonna just do it on this one because I think that light is catching it just right. Let's see how it's. So if y'all can name.
All right, switch it over again.
Name it. And we'll let y'all know who it is, and we will get y'all some of our jigs. All right. So, all right, brother.
Check this out real quick. This is actually the McMinnow right here. And we're going to go ahead and get that McMinnow on there real quick. We'll show everybody what it looks like with that trailer tipped on there. And anyway, that's the jig. That's the trailer. That McMinnow is the bomb for these jigs, but again, the McMinnow works on a lot of other, spinnerbaits, cheddar, whatever you're throwing. It makes a great trailer for certain baits. Yeah,
and I mean, we're going to be able to have a code to where you can get those McMinnows. We're in the process of working on that right now, but also. You can also throw that 2.75 TRD Ned rig or from Z-Man. But again, we love throwing the McMinnow on it. Yeah. You catch fish on it with that TRD, but it's hard for us to get away from that bruiser stuff.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt at all.
So, but well, brother, we're sitting at an hour and 20 minutes. I hear your belly growling.
I'm seeing my backbone.
And so, and I'm over here trying to stay awake. So, I've been up since 10 o'clock last night instead of going and taking a nap. So let's see. We had a guy said hi. I used to love fishing, but unfortunately, I can't no more. I hate to hear that, man. Everybody needs to go, and it's something about being on the water. So much relief, so much stress. Uh, and so even if it's just for an hour or whatever, I think everybody needs to at least be around water.
Oh yeah.
But so hopefully, brother.
And being on the water too is therapy for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
So, but we're going to get off here, and we will. We're going to head out. I got some jigs to tie. Well, I'm going to tie them tomorrow. But I'm actually going to go in the morning. I got to go back and try to catch that seven and a half
I believe it. You're gonna have to go to work in the morning, and you're gonna be at the lake an hour before that catching a 7-pounder. Man, what a diehard, dude!
Well, when you wake up in the morning and you see that text message, you might not want to look at it because that's what I'm going to send you.
You're probably gonna make me jealous as hell, and you're gonna want to make me hook up the boat and hit the lake. And I have to rest this weekend, so I don't really want to do that. But you'll force my hand if you do that.
I need to get you over there to it, and it's a neat little pond, and so. But again, guys, man, we deeply appreciate it. If you can go, and we forgot to do this earlier, if you can go to Deck Talk Podcast on YouTube and hit that subscribe button, we really appreciate it. That's what we're going. We're eventually going to take everything to the Deck Talk Podcast, and it's not going to be on the Facebook. But we're trying to get as many followers as possible. So right now, that's the reason why we're doing both of them on Facebook and YouTube. Which Facebook is Norman Lee's and Colin Burnett, and then on YouTube it's Norman Lee Fishing, Deck Talk Podcast, and CMB Bassin 1983. If you're on YouTube, go to Norman Lee Fishing, Deck Talk, and CMB Bassin and hit that subscribe button. Help us out because we do love doing this.
And typically about a week and a half, 2 weeks, you'll be able to listen to our podcast on all the after each episode on all the major podcasting platforms like Spotify and all that.
Yeah, because we got I think there's like 8 or 9 episodes.
Yeah,
and stuff. So, but Norman, brother, man, we got another one down, and guys, go check out Jack's Bait and Tackle and Fish Tails. I guarantee you that they're going to have what you need and to put you on the water. They are going to have, I'm going to show that again, the Chat Town lures, and this is what the packaging is going to look like. And stuff. So they're going to have them. Fishtails has them right now, and they're probably going to be on. We'll run by there. They're probably going to be. He might already have them on the shelf.
He might have already put them on the shelf.
And so, because he got them earlier today, and then we're going to get it into Jack's Bait and Tackle here this next week, and Kim's going to have them by no later than next weekend. She's going to have them in her shop, and I guarantee you're going to catch a bunch of fish. Yeah. So, guys, we appreciate it, and we will see y'all here next weekend at what time?
6 o'clock
next
Thursday,
brother, and we're going to be here. We might have a special guest. Yeah. We're working on it, but again, most of the guys that we have that's coming on that has committed they're down in South Carolina right now, getting ready to fish Murray, and then they've got Santee Cooper. Yeah. And so, but after that gets done, we're going to be able to have some heavy hitters on here. Yeah. So you can chit chat with them. But again, we thank y'all for coming on. Hope that to see y'all out on the water, and live the passion, brothers.
Guys, keep your lines tight and your baits wet. Live the passion. See you next time.
See you guys.